Welcome. I would like to welcome all of you participants, and I would like to invite you to this really booster up session today about the booster. But what is it about? I mean, in research and innovation, we often talk about the gap that exists between the research and the impact on the market, the impact on people's lives. Now, bridging that gap has been a challenge and it will remain a challenge. But we are here to try and live up to that challenge and give solutions. Let's look at what we have been doing for the last 40 years. If we look at the figures, we have been investing a staggering 283 billion euros via the research programs, the framework programs, as we like to call them. Now, what does this booster do? The booster initiative plays a crucial role in, first of all, maximizing the return on that investment. Anybody who invests money, especially those kind of figures, wants maximum return. But not only that, the ones who are doing the projects believe in their projects, but they want them to also have real world impact. And also, citizens out there want that money, a lot of public money, by the way, which wants to deliver value directly to the citizens and also the businesses across Europe and the world, if possible, as well. So we have what we call the SRIP report in DG R&I, and this is the Science Research and Innovation Performance Report. And the 2024 report states that increasing the speed at which scientific findings are converted into commercial and societal applications is crucial for maintaining the EU's competitive edge and sustaining its path towards the so-called SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals. Now, by empowering the EU-funded projects, by firing them up for the maximum capacity, will help us to translate not only the ideas into reality, but the ideas into something impactful, successful products, successful services, successful processes that actually address societal needs, that actually help people to get solutions to the global challenges that we're all surrounded by every day and we hear about all the time and we live every minute of every day. So what does the Booster Initiative do? It actually contributes to Europe's competitiveness and resilience in the global economy as it faces these global challenges. But if we look at the booster as being the be-all and end-all of the solution, I think it's a falsity. It is only part of the solutions that we actually offer. And the European Commission offers many other ways of how it valorizes its ecosystem of research and innovation. But the booster is really a prominent part of that. The ecosystem encompasses a wide range of initiatives designed to support the dissemination and exploitation of the EU-funded research results. We do have a lot of initiatives, and when you have a lot of initiatives, you have the risk of fragmentation. And due to the current fragmentation of these initiatives, the Commission actually aims to try and bring them together, to gel them up, to streamline them into a valorisation ecosystem, making the lives of beneficiaries easier and Commission tools more accessible to more people out there. So we believe that the booster is actually uniquely positioned to address the challenges and opportunities identified in many recent studies, such as, for instance, the Draghi report, which I'm sure a lot of you have heard about, and it talks about exactly this, Europe's competitiveness, as well as the report entitled Align, Act, Accelerate, which was recently published by an expert group on the interim evaluation of Horizon Europe itself. And this report focuses on actually fostering market creating innovation and supporting the commercialization and the scaling up of research outcomes in which Europe is actually lagging behind, when compared to other huge economies like the US and also China. So, I would like to introduce Nikos. And Nikos, I would like to ask you a few questions. But you are really best placed to answer these because you're really deeply immersed in not only the booster, but also in many aspects of research and innovation in DDG. And I would like to take the point of view of any researcher, any innovator, and I would like to ask, what's in it for them? What are the key benefits that this booster actually provides them with?
Thank you very much, Joanna. Well, dissemination and exploitation activities are crucial in achieving impact by helping the beneficiaries to identify their key results, to promote them to the relevant stakeholders, and to even let's say, prepare strategies to take these results, to take them to the market, to policy, or even further research. Now, one of the key benefits that the booster is offering is that it offers coaching and guidance from experts, free of charge for the beneficiaries, while providing personalized support to the specific needs of each beneficiary. I would say that this is something that all researchers would like to have to help them bring the results to their relevant stakeholders.
I would agree, absolutely. But when they actually take the grants and take, the public funding via the framework program, there are legal obligations, and researchers and beneficiaries would normally accept the legal obligation of having to plan or submit what we call a dissemination and exploitation plan. Why is it important for them to already submit this plan as part of their legal obligations?
Well, it's very important to have a dissemination exploitation plan just from the start, the beginning of the life cycle of the project, because like this, you can start building the future while having a strong foundation. Now, by doing so, it allows to already consider the key audience that you may wish to reach, and not only identify the audience, but also see how you will achieve this and you will reach this audience. Now, this will also avoid any surprises in the end of the project, like, okay, we have results, but now what? So it's not only about a legal obligation. I would say that it's a strategy for the beneficiaries to keep in mind the dissemination exploitation during the project, and thus, with this way, improving impact.
So in a way, it's like inviting already at the stage of applying for the funding,
Indeed,
the researcher and the innovator to already envision their product, their service, their societal change that they would like to bring about, and actually seeing it in practice.
It's exactly that, Joanna. Like this, as I said before, they are prepared for what they're going to deliver, and like this, know exactly how they will, let's say, reach out to the relevant audience for the needs.
In technical terms, we like to call it valorisation. It's a way of how you're already inviting, at the stage of application, the researcher to already valorize their own vision of their own product and the impact that they want to create. But as I said earlier, this booster initiative is not the only thing that we try to bring about valorisation. How does the booster initiative fit into this wider, if you like, spectrum of valorisation strategy of the GRNI?
Well, the booster plays a very important role in the uptake of results of EU-funded projects by providing dedicated support. Now, the booster contributes by improving the market readiness of research and innovation results by developing these dissemination exploitation plans that we mentioned before. Now, this in turn supports the European Commission's goal of fostering innovation and competitiveness, which is something that we very much need today.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Joanna. I would like also now to introduce you to the importance of the dissemination exploitation activities by a very, very interesting video that our team has prepared.
Every year, researchers funded by the European Union produce a substantial number of research results. But what happens next? For all this research to benefit society, Every piece of the puzzle is important. Do you want your research to make a difference? Then dissemination and exploitation will be the way to go. Dissemination happens when you share your research results with those who can make the best use of them. In doing so, you contribute to the important work of the scientific community, and this may also lead to potential business opportunities in the future, as well as further recognition in your field. Meanwhile, exploitation is all about putting the results into practice. Just like an apple does not fall far from the tree, results and impact are closer than you think. You can use your results in many different ways and in many different fields, from contributing to further research, to commercializing a product, creating and improving services, shaping policies, and more. Sharing and using your research results is not just about contractual obligations. It is an opportunity to increase the impact of your research, as well as enhance your reputation and visibility, build on existing results, and overall make your results matter. It is also a chance to contribute to shaping more effective EU policies and designing EU funding fit for your needs. Navigating the process can be challenging, but you don't have to do it alone. There are numerous support services and tools available. Have a look at the opportunities and be part of the success story.
Welcome back, and after this short video interlude, and big thanks to, as well, of course, to Joanna Drake and Nikos Mitrakis for these strategically important introductory remarks. My name is Katrina. I'm a policy officer, primarily focusing on the dissemination and exploitation or sharing and using of research results, the policies around it, and the valorization ecosystem of supporting initiatives. And together with me today here, I have also Alessia Melaseke, the CEO of Meta Group, with notable experience in several areas in research and innovation, including on capacity building, entrepreneurship, as well as dissemination and exploitation of research results. And in the second part today, we're going to take these strategic notions and we're going to put them into practice. We're going to find out about the many different services that we have available under the new booster and how you of EU-funded projects can already benefit from them. So just some few housekeeping rules before we jump into it. Sorry. Below. All right. So, sorry about that. Housekeeping rules before we dive in. What we're going to be doing in terms of questions and answers, we invite you to use Slido. You can scan the code here that you can see on the screen, or you can also go on slido.com, entering the code BOOSTER, and you can join the conversation there. We're going to address them later on in this session, and in case we will run out of time, don't worry, we have a fantastic FAQ section also on the Booster webpage, which if you're wondering what it is, it's horizonresultsbooster.com.eu, so you can find it there. So let's start with perhaps a little bit setting the scene of basics of where we really find ourselves today in this realm of different activities, starting from the key exploitable results to the dissemination exploitation activities, as well as maximizing the framework programs, actions and activities. What do they all have in common? We can see here, of course, the common denominator being in the middle, which is impact. We talk a lot about impact. We talk a lot about how we can transform these projects and these project results, this EU investment in R&I, into really tangible benefits for society with scientific, social, commercial, economic, technological, and even policy value. So all of this is a mess, that this is where this transformation, where you take the key exploitable results, the key ERs, you share them, you use them, and all of this together contributes really to the impact creation. Doing this, of course, I mean, in theory sounds great and is great, of course, but it may not be just a straightforward journey. There may be more things that you need to consider, and this is where the booster services come really handy, and we're very happy to be able to offer these for the EU-funded projects. Not only that, but also the services that we are going to be covering today, it's very key to know that they further support the Commission's efforts to really bridge as well this innovation divide that we have across Europe, and particularly also when you were looking at, for example, widening countries, but not only. And the booster has a team of experts behind it that have really varied profiles that come from different member states, and thus they can really provide this expertise that can be more inclusive, that can provide more of an insight. So it's something new with which we'll be discovering today here together, is really this flexibility and this tailor-made approach that the booster has. And with this little nugget, I will give the floor to my co-host of today, Alessia. The floor is yours, and welcome. Please tell us about the booster.
Thank you very much, Katrina. Good morning to you all, and it's my pleasure to introduce you the European Commission Booster Initiative. First of all, I have to mention that this is not coming from scratch, as it was anticipated by Joanna, Nikos, and Katrina. It fits seamlessly into a broader strategic framework in supporting knowledge valorization. You have some numbers in the slides, and you can see what has been done so far in the previous initiative, the Horizon Results Booster. We already had on board almost 1,800 projects, 2,000 requests received, and 4,000 beneficiaries supported. So we are clearly building on the Horizon Results Booster legacy. It's important to know that everyone which is involved in this initiative is bound to confidentiality. I would like to stress this since the very beginning, because I fully understand project partners, researchers, innovators' concern in terms of confidentiality. So you can share all your precious information with the experts and the managers within the Booster Initiative without any issue in terms of confidentiality. We are providing you trustworthy coaching and mentoring and expert support. Please bear in mind that the Booster Initiative started today and actually will be up and running for the next 4 years. Who can apply? Actually, there is an eligibility check which is made at funding level. So all the projects which have been funded under Horizon Europe, Horizon 2020, Framework Program 7, and even the earlier one, because actually are eligible to apply to the booster, close and ongoing projects. Not only the ones who signed directly a grant agreement with the Commission, but as well the ones who indirectly are involved in Commission initiatives through the EIT knowledge and innovation communities, joint undertakings, and partnerships. There is one novelty compared to what we were used to, that actually are eligible to request booster support, not only projects and cluster of projects, but as well individual organizations and group of organizations. Of course, they need to be connected to a project coming from eligible funding. There is as well another important element to be shared, that if your project is not within referring to the eligible funding, there is still a way for you to be involved in booster services, because you can group with one of eligible projects, and this will let you benefit from booster services. Why apply? So I can tell you a few elements now, and then you will know more while I will be presenting you the services. For sure, to better define your pathway to impact beyond initial funding and projects activities, increasing chances to transform your output into tangible benefits, better identify your target audiences, best channels to reach them, and then focus most on those who matter the most for you to scale, to increase team skills and know-how with cutting-edge knowledge on dissemination and exploitation. So as you can see, there are many good reasons to request booster support. As it was already mentioned by Nikos, booster support is 100% free of charge for eligible beneficiaries, and actually all the services are delivered remotely, so through virtual means, and but actually if there is a specific need as well, on-site meetings could be organized. It's a collaborative, support-driven learning experience. What does it mean? It means that, of course, experts that will be appointed to deliver services to your specific case, they're not going to substitute you in your project's activities. They will act as facilitator, guiding you throughout the booster services and throughout dissemination and exploitation panorama and landscape. It will be for the beneficiaries as well a learning experience. This means that out of this collaboration with the experts, this will bring you new know-how, new methodologies and new tools that could be then implemented that you can then easily transfer in other situations, in other projects, in other cases, and to other key exploitable results. But let's go a bit more in details throughout the different booster services. First of all, we have three main categories, somehow in a hierarchical order here presented, but it's not exactly like this. So I will start with the real novelty of the booster. It was introduced this personalized support, which means that booster experts will, be there with you, not just in one go for the service delivery, but throughout the whole journey. The first one is the entry-level consultation. As soon as your application will be approved, a mentor team will be appointed to follow your specific case. You will have direct contact with them, first call. You will align needs, expectations and service delivery. They will present you and explain better the booster services in detail, so you will define with them your own tailored service roadmap. And this is very important, so you will feel more comfortable and the service will come at the right moment for your project. Then the mentoring does not end with the entry-level consultation, because mentors will help you out throughout your booster journey and even beyond that. They will be in contact with you to monitor your progresses and to understand how service delivery is going, and even to suggest additional services, new services, even beyond the booster services at one stage. So this will be for you like mentors will act like trusted partners, like one-stop shop for all your needs. And actually, so this will be a continuous mentoring and you won't be let alone. D&E building blocks. This is truly the core of the services that the booster can offer you towards dissemination and towards go-to-market support. So let's go with the dissemination support. The dissemination support, it's supporting your projects throughout mentoring and coaching, and as well capacity building towards increasing your dissemination skills, identifying the right audiences and the best channels to reach them. The added value is that then your dissemination activities towards the external world, considering your projects, will be more sustainable in time, addressing the right audiences that can then leverage on what has been transferred to them. You will as well go through stakeholder analysis, customized audience engagement, so everything will be run throughout our dissemination support. As well, there will be a direct link and link with the Horizon Results platform to showcase your results. Then we have the go-to-market support. This is more in the direction, of course, of exploiting your key exploitable results. This will help you to focus on your pathway to impact beyond the initial funding and projects activities, like clearly understanding who your customers are, customers or adopters, because it's important to highlight as well that, of course, within the eligible funding, we are dealing with all the different funding schemes and all the different topics. So it's sector agnostic, and actually we can go from hard science to social sciences and humanities, to product services, to pieces of know-how, algorithm, formulas, platform, whatever you can have in your mind as a result for your project. So clear definition of customers and unique value proposition, stronger capabilities than in planning and in creating your own sustainability plan, so building your resilience as well as a project, as an innovator, and increase chances to secure additional funding. This happens with an hands-on type of approach. So do not think that this will be just theory. This is a collaborative exercise. Structured approach and customized content. This will be absolutely tailor-made on your specific needs. And the mentors in parallel will be there just for you, just to be sure that everything happens according to your needs. So there will be expert guidance in business planning and commercialization, and you will be presented real scenario cases that will help you as well to understand how to implement what is discussed and exercised during the booster exercise. So this is, to sum up a bit on the main services that the booster is providing.
Indeed. Thanks a lot, Alessia, for explaining the building blocks, what we really find and we believe to be kind of the heart and soul of this new booster and the support that we want to provide for the EU-funded project. So that's super great to see. And of course, it obviously aligns as well very much with the dissemination exploitation strategy and the support mechanisms that the Commission aims to continue to put into place. Like we heard, these services are going to be available 4 years now still to come, so it's quite a considerable time. I really liked what you said also about the fact that it's structured approach but tailorized content. Indeed, that is super key. I think that we can highlight it for everyone to know. It's not one size fits all. We know that everyone has their own unique challenges and unique obstacles. I know we still have a little cherry on top to discuss, which is going to be the add-on or the complementary services. Before we get to that, given the experience you already have in the realm of working with the EU-funded projects, I'm sure you have spotted some recurring, perhaps, let's say, opportunities for improvement or challenges or some recurring issues that some projects are facing. Could you tell us what those on average would be and how the booster could support them, perhaps?
Yes, of course. We have been, running at this for a while now. I showed numbers at the very beginning, so we have some recurrent cases that I can highlight a bit. I have to say that experts report in a recurrent way that many beneficiaries struggle to identify target audiences for dissemination purposes, usually target audiences which go beyond peers, and even more to find out which are the right channels, the best channels to address each one of them. And in this direction, throughout the dissemination support, of course, this is part of the program to support beneficiaries in this direction, to clearly identify the target audiences and the way to best reach them. Another recurrent case is connected to key exploitable results, which seems easy, in principle to identify them, but actually in many cases they are mixed a bit with deliverables, milestones, pieces here and there, which then of course it doesn't help to structure your pathway to impact if not clearly already identifying which is at the core. And actually through booster services, experts support beneficiaries not only in properly identifying them, but as well somehow in prioritizing all the elements which needs to be there to be sure that, then everything is in order for successful exploitation and then adoption and uptake. Another important element is connected to mixing in between early adopters and end users, which depending on the cases, they could refer to the same group of stakeholders, but not always. Depends much on the value chain and where you position your innovation and who is next to you, the next actor in the chain. And finally, last but not least, definitely intellectual property. It's, set in projects at the very beginning with the consortium agreement, which is the foundation of all the relationships that will happen throughout project life. But actually then, of course, project life, it's something different. I mean, it goes and you have involved different countries, different organizations, vocations, missions, internal rules. So it's really important to, come back to the IP challenges throughout the project life and not just relying on the initial consortium agreement, and experts as well support on that, providing as well tools and legal agreements which could be used throughout project's life to tackle these challenges.
No, absolutely. Thanks for sharing that. And it's interesting what you said as well. It's true. We keep using this key exploitable results at the point where for us it just registers as, okay, the key ER is fine. But sometimes, I take it's the case that you've seen that every output from the project, yes, sure. And that's not entirely the case. The key exploitable results, you need to have strong potential for actual use of them. So that's a little caveat that I'm sure that the booster can help as well sort out. And the same for the channels and the target audiences. Also because even when you find the target audience, you're not going to go with the same exact message to one audience as you will do with the other one. A pitch for investors is going to be very different than a presentation for policymakers. Like you cannot go with even if the content or the results that you're pushing forward, yes, but the message needs to be a little bit digested and tailored. So it's really great to have Booster who can help with this. And for the IP side as well, for the intellectual property rights, for that, and also I have to say, in general, for fostering this dissemination exploitation, that's why as well, what Nikos was mentioning earlier, we think of it already, it's an obligation at the level of applying for the grant. So even at the level of admissibility, you have to have a plan. The plan doesn't have to be final. The plan doesn't have to be super complete, but you have to start thinking about these things early on so that you don't get to a point where, okay, I have the results, I don't know who owns them, I don't know what to do with them. Is IP the same thing everywhere? No, we have national context to look into, so it's great to consider these things. Thanks for sharing that. And I think on the next slide, I think we can move forward to the add-ons. But perhaps before that, just a reminder in case some of you are tuning in just now, we do take questions through the Slido, so you can scan the code here, but you can also enter slido.com and add the code BOOSTER, and you can ask the questions there. We're going to try to address as many as we can today, but if not, there's also a lot of frequently asked questions on the existing webpage. So just to say that, and Yeah, thanks a lot, Alessia. I'll let you get on with the dessert of it, the add-ons.
Yes, DNA building blocks at the core, as you can, easily understand from, the overall setup. But we have on top of the DNA building blocks more vertical services which can help you out to solve more specific challenges. The first one is the networking service, which will help you in expanding your contact database in terms of relevant stakeholder for your dissemination and exploitation activities and to scale up. So if your plan is not to go on your own as an individual project, this is as well a good service for you to benefit from. I need to mention that add-on services are accessible only after you have completed one or both of the DNA building block service, or the dissemination support, or the go-to-market. Then we have the portfolio analysis. In this case, we take different projects together, which can be grouped because they have commonalities for dissemination and exploitation purposes. And there is an analysis of all the results, the creation of a portfolio of results, identification of target audiences for the portfolio, and then creating the cluster for the dissemination and go-to-market purposes. Then we have the intellectual asset management. We were just mentioning IP. We were just highlighting and raising how IP is crucial to be managed throughout project's life and even beyond. So intellectual asset management is really going to provide you with a vertical service on IP strategies, IP management plans, IP valuation, due diligence, how to negotiate, and whatever type of support you might need in terms of managing your intellectual assets, tangible or intangible. Coaching for public speaking. We are pretty much used to, disseminate to our peers, but there could be situations in which support might be needed to address different type of audiences: investors, partners, manufacturers, policymakers, depending on the sector and the key exploitable results you would like to bring further and disseminate. So throughout the coaching for public speaking, you will improve your communication and presentation skills, really focusing on the type of target audiences you would like to reach. And then we have the audio-visual support, which it's supporting you in creating a video for specific purposes of showcasing your project and your results on the Horizon Results platform. So applications are always open. And are online to ensure, equal access to everybody to the services, the booster services, to, of course, all the eligible projects and organizations. And actually, this is not a competitive type of process. Till we have the possibility to support your project and your organization, this will be done. So each application is evaluated per se and not competing with others. So please feel safe and feel comfortable in explaining in the application that you are submitting your specific case, your specific needs, that then will be assessed through the mentoring service. Everything happens online through the Booster platform. The application form is online. You just need to register to the platform. In case of a group of organizations and project groups, of course, there will be one person which will act as the applicant and the leading one for the group. And then you just need to fill in basic information really concerning your project, your organization, and your need. Then will be contacted back. The eligibility check will be done at the commission level. So I can recommend you strongly that if you're not coming from a direct funding, that you have a grant agreement, please, please, please clearly specify which is the specific situation, so it will be easier for us to assess your specific case. I would say that it's pretty much it, and I'm really curious to see which are your questions and how we can, integrate what has been presented so far.
Thank you very much, Alessia. Thanks a lot. Indeed, this was an excellent overview on the different things that we had. Just to recap, the booster has really a personalized approach. You start with an entry-level consultation, then you have two key dissemination exploitation building blocks to choose from, or to get both if that would align with what your needs are at that point. And the add-ons, which come as a cherry on top afterwards, in addition to or complementary to the D&E building blocks. The core still remains dissemination and exploitation support, and there's plenty of tailor-made support. So really, it's quite a, very personalized approach, I would say. And I see that we are doing quite well on time. So actually, what I would like to do is take a moment to also, before we dig into the audience questions, to ask two questions from my side as well, since I have the expert here. In your experience, what would be the most optimal time to really make the most of what the booster has to offer? In other words, is there such a thing of applying too early or too late?
Too late, perhaps, if I have to say, not too early, because we can support projects since the very beginning, because there could be the need as well to align on the pathway to impact. So if I may suggest, I would say around month 4 to 6 of a project could be already a good moment to apply, so we can, somehow be part of the project aside supporting all the activities and throughout the project's life. So I would say perhaps too late, but never too early.
But even for the too late, let that not discourage you. If you're a closed project, you're eligible to apply. So indeed, and perhaps something important to note for the participants is that you can apply as early as you can. That doesn't mean that you have to receive all the services immediately. There is a roadmap that is set out for you with the timeline. So it's not like I will wait until this and this moment and only then I will start, and then all of a sudden everything is urgent and everything needs to be done for tomorrow. Let's not get to that if not absolutely needed. And then my second question would be, we just talked about the networking, the public speaking, etc., etc. If you find yourself doing an elevator pitch to someone, and you have to very quickly convince them about the booster, what would be the one thing that you would share with this person? Let's say it's an EU project. You happen to be in the same thing and they're like, okay, but what's in it for me?
It's personalized, hands-on. Experts have all vertical experience in, the different domains, and are mainly experts in mastering, dissemination and exploitation and go-to-market. So it's customized for your specific needs, and those needs are cleared and aligned at the very beginning of the process.
Thank you very much. All right, I think we can jump into the questions.
Yeah.
Let's start. If we could highlight the first one, but I guess it's the one that we see here.
So we can
start. All right.
Yep.
The question is, there's a specific booster for the EIC Pathfinder. Oh, yes. How does this fit into general booster? Could you elaborate on how to participate in the EIC version? Funny you should mention that. 2 days ago, there was an EIC Pathfinder Beneficiaries Day that if you're a beneficiary, perhaps you participated there as well. If not, on the EIC community platform, you should be able to find more information on that. Just to say that the EIC booster is a grant. So the difference here, what we have is, this is not an exchange, this is not a grant. The booster services that we're presenting today are services, they're guidance and support. And also for the EIC booster, obviously there's grant agreement, that's a different process. In our case here, what we are talking about today, there is no money exchanged between you as the project and the commission, or between you as the project and the consultant who is providing the services. So for you, it's really free of charge, and you get this guidance and this extra support. And on more information on how to participate in the EIC grant, on the EIC community platform, you have details one by one that elaborate on that further. But I don't know if Alicia, you would like to add something on this?
Yes, no. I mean, from the structural point of view, it's two different initiatives, but then I can tell you that, of course, EIC projects are more than welcome. We already work with a lot of them, so we are ready to receive applications and to support them as well, because it fits in the, as well, projects life, so we can be relevant as well for the EIC projects, but it's a bit different setup from the support that you can receive directly from the EIC in this direction.
Certainly. Thanks.
So I think that I will go through. Okay, yes. So can you provide hands-on examples so that we understand better how to use this booster? Thank you. I like the smiling face.
And I love the question.
So the hands-on example. So you just signed your grant agreement with the Commission. You are organizing your first consortium meeting with your partners. And therefore, this could be a good moment to discuss requesting the booster services. So we can jump in and help you to really from scratch align your activities and reinforce the know-how that you can have with tools and methodologies for your specific case to go through your project activities. And perhaps we jump in at the very beginning and then somehow you progress with your activities, you develop, you create, you innovate what you are supposed to do, and then we come back to you because there is a service roadmap agreed, and we deliver more vertical services for that specific moment of your project when you are ready with your key exploitable results. It's important as well to highlight that when we are talking about key exploitable results and being them ready, we are not referring to the technology readiness level. I mean, this is one part of the story, but we are more thinking to results that you are ready to bring forward, to start really, defining your dissemination and exploitation roadmap, to define your actionable plan, to progress towards impact. This is in the case of newly started projects, but there are other cases in which there is a partner owing, of course, the IP on a result of a closed project. In this case, this organization has a specific interest in marketing what has been achieved throughout the project's life, and as you know, impact is not coming the day after. You need to work on it. It could be months or it could be years. So then, in this case, the organization come back to us. We analyze the specific case, and of course, the type of support that we provide in that case is a bit different because it's not, aligning on concepts and on strategies. It's more hands-on on tangible activities which needs to be done. And it will be, again, a collaborative and cooperation in between the organization and the appointed experts on the specific case. So the next one, will the booster help us identify not just IP, but intangible assets which we can protect and license? And do you have experts who can do this? Happy to answer, yes. Mm-hmm. As I presented, no matter the sector, no matter the type of assets or key exploitable results, output, how you want to call it, yes, we are ready to cover all the domains, all the different topics, and we have vertical experts specifically on board to deliver that type of support. Okay. Many scientific projects aim to reach out to policymakers to make them understand the relevance of our research. Will Booster support that? Yes. Key exploitable results, besides the name with exploitable, always free connect more to business type of situation, but this is not the case. When I'm mentioning impact, this means market, of course, this is, of course, the straightforward one, but it means community. Exactly. Means community and means policymakers. So this really depends much on the type of activity that you're carrying on and on the type of results. So yes, policymakers are within the target audiences that we can address throughout the booster services. Next one, at which stage of a process can we already apply for and engage a booster experts on exploitation and IP management support in context of commercialization? As I was mentioning, this could happen even from the very early stages of project's life. Then, of course, it depends much if you have a 2 years project or a 5 years project. If your intention is to commercialize and you already know, clearly in that sense, there will be services like the add-on which we better perhaps to deliver on later stages, but I would start as usual as soon as possible. Just to give you even a bit more insight on the services themselves, for you to know, within the go-to-market support, actually, it's of course connected to identifying key exploitable results, identify unique value proposition, and then you characterize results, exploitation roadmap, assessing risks. But there is as well business planning, of course, but then there is as well a part which is already anticipating some of the basics of what could be with the add-on services on innovation management, IP introductory services, analyzing the different exploitation business options, co-designing commercialization plan, making assessment of your feasibility, supporting you with identifying additional sources of funding, and as well, if you need some support in spinning off and starting up your own innovation and idea. Next one, okay. Can boosters support projects that are more education oriented in the sense that in the end we will not have a tangible product or prototype? Yes.
Great question.
In the Horizon Results Booster experience, we worked a lot with Marie Curie initiatives, for example, with fellowships, with programs and initiatives which foresees exchange of expertise among researchers. So yes, of course we are ready. Please do not misunderstand me when I'm saying I'm using a very, I would say this is the case, very marketing style, business style type of wording. This is really for everybody and every type of result, every piece of know-how, every type of story that you have, which you have the intention really to bring forward, to transfer, to have adopted, to have taken by somebody outside your project, your organization. And even, you know, if you would like to increase internal skills in your organization or within your consortium, this is as well for you, because this is as well a way to impact, okay? So to have a tangible benefit, you know, with your results. Okay, the next one. Provided that all requirements are met, how long would it take for someone from Booster to start working with us? This is pretty fast, because usually it takes 1 week, 10 days max, but even less, honestly, in the experience, but just to be on the safe side, yes, to have the application checked and approved, and then I would say another week to appoint the mentors, which will be your first contact point throughout your booster journey. And then with the mentors, you will define your service roadmap, and the service roadmap means agreeing on the first services to be delivered for your specific case, but as well the timing. So let's say that you would like to start with your go-to-market service. The go-to-market service is subdivided in modules. I mean, I'm not sharing now all the technicalities, but it's organized in a way that you can start to have the first part of the service delivered in one given moment, and then you would like perhaps to progress with your project, and then we come back for the exploitation strategy or the business planning part a bit later on, and even further accessing different type of further funding that you might need beyond the grant agreement funding. So actually it's really customized, it's flexible, and nothing carved on stone. I mean, each of the two actors, beneficiaries and experts have to take a responsibility, because this is a collaborative exercise, but then nothing carved on stone. I mean, even if in the service roadmap something is agreed to happen in a certain given moment and then needs evolve, change, this could be modified, being in contact with the mentors, different services can be added, even the time for delivery could be modified. Can we apply as an organization or a project? Both. Under the booster, there is the possibility to request services as an individual organization, not only as a project, as it was in the previous initiative. And but it's important to know that the organization should be clearly referring to a project which comes from the eligible funding, and of course has the right to disseminate and exploit the results for which the booster service will be delivered. An additional piece of information which might be relevant, I've always been mentioning that at the core of the booster services, there are key exploitable results. And of course, the logic behind is that those key exploitable results come from the projects that you are linking to when requesting the booster service. There is as well somehow the possibility to broaden a bit the portfolio of results that you can work on, because it's not just directly linked to the proper foreground, which has been planned to have since the beginning of the project's life, because we all know that actually during project's life, perhaps at the beginning you thought to, develop a certain type of results and achieve certain type of results, but then throughout the life you understand that there could be a different use of what has been developed and studied and researched, or what's called formally the side ground. So what we can call indirect key exploitable results, those could be as well exercised and worked out with the experts during the booster service. In an ideal world, to be honest and to focus, actually it is suggested not to work on more than 3 key exploitable results during service delivery. There could be, a couple more, discussing if they if they're very different from the one to the other, involving different perhaps organizations, different stakeholders, and in principle you can have a product, a service, and a piece of know-how, perhaps for policymakers or the scientific community. So this could be set, and you will be supported in this direction by the mentors and the experts to better define as well which are the key exploitable results, and as well if there are some relevant indirect results which could be at the core of the booster service delivery. For the add-on services, are there prerequisites to fulfill? Do applicants need to first apply to other services to qualify for the add-ons? Yes, but when you are going to apply for booster services, actually more than an application, we can call it expression of interest, because actually differently from the previous booster experience, you are not going to pick from scratch services, but you are going to explain your case, your needs, the state of art, what you would like to have, and then thanks to the mentors and with the mentors, you are going to define which are the services. So from a formal point of view, yes, as I mentioned, the core are the dissemination and exploitation building blocks, and therefore you need first to pass through one of the two, or at least some modules of one of the two. And then you can access add-on services. Then it will be as well easier to assess which is your specific case, and to have delivered the best add-on services which best fit the specific case. So actually you are not going to request them specifically from the expression of interest application that you are going to submit, but this will be decided while you go. And actually, this is pretty flexible in a sense that, as I said, the service roadmap can be revised, every time there is the need to.
Exactly. You can even be at a moment, like you were mentioning, that you've received the support of dissemination or the go-to-market, and at that point, perhaps one of the add-ons was not that relevant, but it comes relevant later down the line. You still can benefit from it. So that's the key thing, I think, what we try to kind of create with this new booster is the flexibility that we have and the really personalized approach. I mean, obviously to the extent that it is possible, but still quite extensively, I would say.
Yes, definitely. So the next one, how does booster service collide with DNA work and project internal team partner in an ongoing project? As I mentioned at the very beginning, experts are not going to substitute project partners running the projects, and for sure not your exploitation managers and dissemination people. Absolutely not. This is not the intention at all. And you have your own work to carry on. This is a support type of service. Experts act like facilitators, guiding, and of course we are not going to review, judge, assess anything. This is not the booster role. We are going there to boost your activities towards achieving impact. So actually there is a direct link with the, of course, dissemination and exploitation people on board in the projects. And I have to say that if I think to the experience coming from the past 4 years, actually we have been called in the majority of cases exactly by the exploitation and dissemination people within a project, because this is as well important. If you refer to a specific project, the application can be submitted by the coordinator, by any given partner which has an interest in benefiting from the booster services, and mainly it happens that it's for the dissemination and exploitation managers to come back to us, because to be honest, the support services are well a good moment to have all the partners really focusing on dissemination and exploitation activities, because it could happen. Each partner has a different role within the partnership. Each one is of course very focused on carrying on its own activities. So then to have everybody contributing at the same moment to the dissemination and exploitation activities throughout project life, it's not the easiest task to be run, and I know this personally, for personal experience. So it's as well a good way to gather the attention in specific moments from all the partnership, and then to be all focused in disseminating and exploiting key results.
It's a good occasion to come together and to see, okay, what's next? We have this, or we will have these results. What can we do? What makes sense we do together? What makes sense that we do separately? It creates an occasion to discuss.
Absolutely, yes. So my project partners are strictly against sharing the full grant proposal with external company consultants. Can we participate without sharing the proposal? Okay, I would reverse this in answering. We say that the booster is personalized, tailor-made, hands-on type of approach. You can imagine that without knowing what your project is about, what you plan to have, which is the impact you would like to have in the activities that you already plan to have, and which is the setup, the roles, the IP behind what you are doing, wouldn't be easy, as you can imagine, to provide you what I'm promising you are going to receive. So, the booster, it's a European Commission initiative. It's not because an external contractor has been selected to run the show. In this case, is that we are all bound to confidentiality. We all sign confidentiality agreements, and therefore I can, say that we have the same level of confidentiality that your PO, as your project officer, has to keep. So this is exactly the same. On top of that, I can even add further elements. If you would like experts to sign additional confidentiality agreements because you have a different type of, format which makes you feeling safer in this direction, no problem. This will be done. The confidentiality agreements which have been signed by each one involved in the process are directly downloadable from the workspace created only for your service. So in the platform, each application is connected to a workspace that can be accessed only by the applicant, the appointed expert, and the people that the applicant would like to involve for the purpose of the service delivery. So it's up to the people directly involved in the service delivery to invite others if relevant for the purpose. There you have the names of the experts, of course, their CVs and the confidentiality agreements that they already signed. Then, at application level, we request you to share the proposal. If there are, main concerns in this direction, you can as well, just upload the part B of the proposal or extract. But please, bear in mind that to support you 100% on this, we need to know what you are doing, what you will be doing, what you plan to achieve. Otherwise, it will stay at the theoretical level, which I do not think this is what you really would like to receive.
Yeah, no, indeed. And just to perhaps highlight a little bit as well what you just said, Alessia, that yes, the initiative is implemented by a private company. However, it remains the initiative from the Commission. So it's not something that just popped up somewhere because there was a need in the market from a private perspective. No, it's also the Commission who has the management overview and who has the support. And of course, sharing the proposal with the company in this case. With everyone having signed the confidentiality agreements, the only other person who can see it is already the person who sees it, which is the Commission, so your project officer, for example. So this is something really to take into consideration, that this is very strongly, this is an initiative put forward by the European Commission.
So the next one, would a spin-off company funded with the H2020 OITBs be eligible to receive the services as a single entity, although it is not beneficiary of the project? This is a good question. The eligibility check will be done on the Commission side, but I can already say something in this direction, that in principle, being connected to an eligible funding makes you an eligible organization. If not directly connected to the project which received the direct funding, it would be better if you can group with at least one of the organizations, of course, which were part of the project, out of which you were spin off. So these grant links to the funding and the project. So you can be, part of the booster, benefiting from the booster services, but you need to demonstrate that, of course, you come from exactly that project and that eligible funding, okay? So clearly you were not at the beginning beneficiary of the project, but for sure you have links.
Or, especially if the link is that the spin-off was created primarily with the focus to use the results. Obviously, as long as the link can be provided and can be traced, and of course, as long as you're the result owner, because obviously it's not going to be just a spin-off that has some, perhaps, connection to the project, but has no ownership rights of the results. That's a different story as well. Huh? But for something that was primarily, and which happens a lot, as we see as well in many projects, if the primarily focus was for the exploitation of these results, there is there is a way. Yes.
Can we participate in the booster as the partner responsible for dissemination exploitation, or should be the coordinator in the booster as well? I already answered, I think, somehow that one. Yes, of course, you can, as exploitation dissemination work package leader, manager, as an organization, as the individual representing the organization. Yes, you can, absolutely, yes. Are Erasmus Plus projects also eligible for the booster services? Unfortunately, for the time being, not directly, but the the escamotage that I can suggest you is that you can group with an eligible project with which you think you can have commonalities in terms of dissemination, exploitation activities, or at least in setting up an actionable plan to achieve impact together, and then you can access the booster services as a project group. But in that case, the eligible project should be the applicant and the leading in the project group. What are the tools that Booster applies to build the exploitation plan? So there are several of those which can be used depending on the specific case. We can go from the exploitation options tool, we have the assessment readiness tool, we have the characterization table, link canvas, value proposition canvas, market canvas, policy canvas,
Mini canvas.
business plan structures, javelin board, exploitation roadmap, BOSAT self-assessment tool. I mean, a lot of those, and the only way to know exactly which they are is to apply to the booster. Then for add-on services, no, that we already answered that. The booster applies for the exploitation purpose. Okay. Can we apply at month 1 of the project and then have boosters help for the most effective CAD planning? Yes, of course you can. The only prerequisite for the eligibility checking is that you sign your grant agreement and actually the kickoff date for the project has passed. Because we had cases in which we had, in the previous initiatives, grant agreement already signed, like in October, November, but then the project officially kicking off early January of the following year, and of course we had to wait that, to consider the application eligible, that the project is actually up and running. So this is the minimum prerequisite, so month 1, that's good. Could you please explain better who is eligible for support? How does it work specifically in the case of EIT funded projects? First of all, I confirm that EIT funded projects are eligible. So this is, first
one thing less to worry about.
Exactly. So once we clear that you can benefit from Booster, then you have to clearly specify from which EIT setup, knowledge innovation community, depending on the case you are coming from, and this will be enough to explain this in the expression of interest that you are submitting. So nothing major to be provided as relevant information. If you have as well a link to the initiative and to the funding scheme, this would even help us to be quicker in assessing your case. Okay. With regards to the audiovisual ads-on, what exact service tasks are included? Delivering a final project video with the major results. This varies depending on the situation. In the current setup, it's mainly video production for the purpose of, first of all, sharing your results on the Horizon Results platform, then of course the video can be used for any other given purpose that you have in mind, but this is the main one. Then in case of project groups might need as well some support with more, audiovisual materials and branding, being something, different from what you have to create for your own project. So there could be support as well in that direction. This needs to be more checked case by case. So in principle, there are a few things that can happen, mainly the video creation for the time being at least. How can one become a booster mentor? For you to know, when of course, there has been, a public process to award the contractor, and the contractor provided a long list. Actually, I can mention you that we are beyond 300 experts on board. So, of course, now for at least, kicking off all the services and everything, there is a list of experts which have been already assessed. But in future, who knows? So reach us out and we will assess the specific case. But, I would say from 2025 onwards.
Which is not that far.
No, you are right. Okay. Maria, I'm exploitation manager for Horizon Europe projects. One of my main challenges is to convince partners to invest efforts in these type of actions and seminars. How can we justify the importance of boosters so they want to be involved? Welcome in my life.
I was going to say, we know.
Exactly. I'm fully aligned with you. This is why actually I mentioned that sometimes the booster is picked as well as a good excuse as well to grab attention from all the partners to contribute, in a specific moment to dissemination and exploitation activities. I think that everybody within the partnership will be interested in as well, gaining some new knowledge and better understanding, because this will help as well their own research, innovation type of activities,
True. Or even just to go back to the very basic of it, why we do dissemination and exploitation is not just to do it and tick the box, because it's one of the legal obligations. Obviously, there's two sides to this. We have from the EU side, from the Commission side, it's key to know where the money is going, the return of investment, the fact that also if there's results that come out of it, for them to feed into the policy-making activities, to foster the competitiveness of the EU, to really highlight and to drive forward our own innovations from the, let's say, more global perspective. Now, individually, there's also a lot in for the projects themselves, for the researchers, even individually. If dissemination exploitation is done right, what it gives you is visibility, improves the reputation. In commercial exploitation, it can give you access to funding, it can give you business opportunities, etc., etc. So maybe it's time to have a chat with the partners in your project to explain that, it's not just a tick box, but it's actually something that's going to benefit you as a project, you as them as the partners, also individually in case there's individual researchers and innovators. So there's a lot to take away when done right, and especially that you have these support services. It's really, I would say, it's harder not to do something than to do something with the results.
Exactly. Okay. Could the EU for Health joint action benefit from booster? Honestly, now I'm missing which is the formal setup for that.
If it's the joint undertaking, yes. If it's another one, we would need to know which one it is specifically. But if you meant joint undertaking, yes.
Yes. Eligible funding. Is co-creation with engagement of users in your project the best way to increase impact? If you ask me, I would answer that, first of all, I would engage early adopters if not exactly the same group of stakeholders than end users. So this depends much, as I was mentioning already, the value chain and how long it is, your way to impact. But for sure, I mean, it's true that if you have on board the people that then potentially, ideally, would have to adopt, uptake your result, then to know from them timely when what is needed, how it's needed, and clearly identify their problems, their needs, and match. And you can easily and better understand how to solve them in a better way than they, solving their problems right now and also matching their needs, or even raising their desires, because not everybody and users know exactly what you can do for them, and this is not my quote. So actually, it's important to have them on board, but as I said, before end users, I would go for early adopters. They are the ones which can provide you with knowledgeable feedback throughout the way, and they could be the first ones that you can provide your solution to be tested and to have, exactly the comments on and the suggestions in that direction. To have them on board as project partners, this would even be the best way, yeah? Can boosters support CSAs in their exploitation sustainability planning? Yes, of course. Coordination and support actions actually ranked at the third place in the previous booster after research and innovation actions, and innovation actions among the most recurrent funding schemes that we have supported. So definitely yes. In Horizon Europe, there are requirements about citizen engagement. Does the booster provide any service in this regard? I mean, first of all, the dissemination support, for sure, and then networking add-on service could be relevant for that purpose as well. So, yes. In the intellectual asset management, is support in IPR filing also foreseen? Patent, trademark, industrial design application? Thank you. The filing itself, no, because the filing, I mean, the support in preparing your file, yes. In practically filing, no, because this should be done by your own organization, because then this will be followed up throughout the years by the organization who is filing it. But yes, in terms of patent, trademark, industrial design, copyrights, because it depends much on what could be your needs, yes, support is provided as well in that direction. Do IPR agreements have a purpose at the very beginning of projects? And again, do they have a place for more education-oriented projects? First of all, in the consortium agreement, unless you are an individual runner of your project, so mono-partner type of activity, you already have mentioned the IPR agreements in the consortium agreement that you signed at the very beginning. So the basics are there and are general statements which help and you can build on. Then they make sense because you should start from something and to have the partnership aligned in a certain direction. It should be clear who is bringing what, if there are other, stakeholders to be involved because of the IP rights, because perhaps you're bringing on board the background of a third organization. So it's important to have since the beginning. The extent to which you should go then depends on the type of projects, the type of partnerships. So for sure, it's important since the beginning, but you do not then need to be stuck on what has been agreed at the beginning. This needs to evolve. I'm always mentioning that, achieving impact is like, any other scientific type of process. I mean, you have to set the basis, you make hypotheses, you pivot, if verified or not, you go back, you go forward. So it's something which should happen in parallel with your scientific, technological research process. And they have place for more education-oriented projects. I mean, copyright could be relevant IP even in that domain. So again, it depends. And then when you think to intellectual property, you can even more, downsize to just having a memorandum of understanding among different subjects who contributed to develop and achieve something, just to know how things are going to progress. Okay, I'm going to disseminate this or this, I'm going to mention you because you contributed to that. Or even further, okay, you contributed to that, you're not interested in direct exploiting, I will do, and then at least I will mention your brand, or I will recognize you a fee, a royalty. So, I mean, it's not that you have to be there with lawyers and signing tons of pages of documents with hundreds of small clauses there. I mean, there are cases in which this is definitely needed, but on the basics for any type of projects, there are, simpler agreements that you just take to be sure, to be on the safe side, that it's clear, it's set what needs to happen, and you can evolve starting from that.
Yeah, because once the things start rolling, you don't want to find yourself in a place where now something is getting really interesting and you don't know who can do something about it. Yeah. And perhaps everyone wants to do something about it. And then a dispute starts, and then nothing is done because there's no agreement.
Yeah. It happened to me when I was delivering some years ago one of the services that it was in pre-COVID times, so there was a physical meeting, consortium meeting happening, and I was supposed to deliver there an exploitation strategy seminar, so starting from scratch, aligning on the basic concepts, and then, analyzing 3 key exploitable results. And the day before I was, flying to the place and meet the partners, I got a phone call from one of the partners telling me, okay, but I know that we plan to have in the agenda this specific key exploitable result, but actually this is my own key exploitable result. I do not want to discuss this with the others, and we are still quarreling on if it's only mine, it will be shared with others, because now that things are very interesting and we see that there is, potential for that, for the uptake, we need to clarify, so it's better not to discuss with the others. So, I mean, I would suggest a completely, opposite type of approach. Moreover, when there is something which, you clearly see that there is a value behind, it's better to openly discuss and agree as soon as possible, not to then find yourself at the end of the project with something which can really make the difference on the community, the market, to the policymakers, and then it's there, stays, because you are still quarreling in deciding what should happen and who can do what with that result.
Yeah, just awkward for everyone, not needed.
What would you consider as one of the best examples of dissemination works that affected policymakers? I would say, in our experience, we hadn't many results which then went to the policymakers for as well the setup that we had in the past. But I can tell you that I think that there is an experience which is very relevant and goes back to the clearly identifying which is your target audience. Because when you think to policymakers that should be the ones adopting what you feel could be, a good piece of story, research, a good result, piece of know-how, whatever it is for the purposes of policy making, people tend to think that, okay, now I have this great policy paper that, first of all, you need to have, it structured, then, fed with the proper type of content, which is already a story. But then you think that, okay, then I'm sending this to the, people, to the European Parliament, and this will be adopted.
Yes, next day.
next day.
Comes into place.
Actually, this is not the case, because before you can reach certain type of course, levels of relevant policymakers for the purpose, there is a path to be followed as well in that case. So you need to pass through, and then you need to identify which are perhaps the right intermediaries, the right associations, the right lobbying organizations, and exactly understanding the whole flow. So my suggestion in this direction is that this is something which is not happening one day. The day after you have your great policy recommendation to be adopted, but it takes time and it's a path. And we can help with that path. Therefore, I think that this is another value that you can take advantage from. Is there a limit to the use of booster services? Some EU's project budgets and workload are already assigned for D&E. So how does this affect duplication of work costs? Okay, just let me stress from the beginning that we do not like duplications, not for sure. So if your idea is that booster services will duplicate what you are already going to do in your project, you can go on your own, because you already have your activities and your budget for that. So for sure, duplicating your works and the use of budget, it's not one of our goals. So actually, as Katrina mentioned, we are not providing money, not providing additional money. We are providing support services which are free of charge, because fully baked by the Commission in this case. So the important thing is that, first of all, booster services should bring another value for your specific path, achieving impact, and therefore you are the best one to evaluate if this is the specific case, because you are the ones applying for the services. Secondly, we do not provide money, but we provide support services. Perhaps we will provide you with different tools and methodologies. So even if you feel to be very knowledgeable, and for sure you are, perhaps there will be another value as well in that direction. Then, of course, time that you devote to the booster services should be, introduced in your timesheet, and you can, of course, report that in your project, but this doesn't mean additional budget. So then it's for sure, it's a collaborative type of effort, and therefore you should consider in planning your activities.
Indeed. So just to stress this even further, the services and the activities that the booster gives are not instead of the activities that you have to do. They're in addition to. So they're a helping hand, a support measure, but it's not that they are replacing anything or duplicating, like far from it, not the idea.
Exactly. Can a researcher who was part of a Horizon project but moved out from the organization funded by Horizon benefit from the booster? This is a tricky eligibility type of question. Honestly, I would need to check that, because honestly, I do not have the answer. I don't know if you, Katrina, have something which could be added, but
yeah. For cases like this, I think it's also, the good thing is, reach out, provide a bit more information than this, so that we can understand better. It's also, of course, important to know who the result owner is.
Exactly.
So it's not an immediate no, but it's not an immediate yes either, because it will really, these cases are not so straightforward. It's gonna be, we would need some more information, and we, of course, if you reach out, we'll get back to you on that, just seeing a little bit the tiny caveats that come into play, and then you can have a full answer.
Yes. So at the university, we work on many different projects, both from Horizon Europe and EIT, but also purely national projects. Are these all also eligible? I like the cluster that you put in inverted commas and brackets, because this is exactly the point. I mean, if you would like to access the booster with your Horizon Europe and EIT projects, you can do on an individual base, project by project. If you would like to bring on board projects which have been funded by, of course, national, regional, even beyond the EU funding, then you might need to cluster with an eligible funding project.
Just thought of something else for the previous question,
Yeah.
actually, just to come back to it for the person who
Yeah.
left the organization but was part of the project, etc. It triggered another thought for me. It's important for everyone to realize that when you do apply, I mean, you don't have to. It doesn't have to be necessarily the coordinator who applies, but bear in mind that the project officer linked to this project will get a notification. So it's not like you can just, kind of go in a certain way around and get the services and no one will find out. I mean, also not the purpose, and I don't think anyone would want to do it maliciously in any case, but that's something to add, that the project officer will be notified when the services are requested. So
Yes, I can add on that as I mentioned, once the application is approved, a dedicated workspace in the platform is created. The access is limited, of course, to the applicant, the colleagues that the applicant, colleagues means in the same organization or in partners organization, that's are relevant to be brought on board, and the experts, appointed experts. But the PO, it's always, the project officers, it's always notified as well about what's happening. So the application is approved, the service is delivered, and actually all the services foresee at the end a final report. And actually the final report is shared as well with the PO. So this is important to know. So whatever happens before the final report stays in between the experts and the beneficiaries, but there is a final report recapping on the services which have been provided, and as well providing additional information for the purpose of course, the value added provided to the beneficiaries. Should applicants describe the services they will ask for use from the booster proposal stage when they are preparing the Horizon Europe proposal? You can mention as part of your pathway to impact. We know section 2, that depending on the type of format, but usually it's section 2, pathway to impact. So yes, you can mention the booster and ideally which type of service you would like to introduce in, the broader framework of course, achieving impact activities and impact part of your proposal.
Yes, not to include it as just that, okay, for D&E, booster will take care of it. No. Not in that sense, no.
No. It should be, be complementary to the activities that you already plan to have and fitting, as I said, in a broader framework of activities.
Indeed.
In Horizon Europe, there are requirements about citizens' engagement. I think we already answered that one. Do you think it's regarding the key exploitable results, do you think it is adequate to divide the key exploitable results in commercial, non-commercial, and both? I mean, as I mentioned, at the core of the services, we are suggested to pick 3 key exploitable results. And then, as I said, a couple of more could be added depending on the specific cases. Dividing in between commercial and non-commercial could be a good point if you have many key exploitable results, much more than 3, and you would like actually to test and exercise tools and methodologies with the experts and as well the approach on different types of results, so you can then transfer, the methodology, the approach and the tools to other similar type of results, which they can be commercial or non-commercial. So this is mainly to you. As well, how to prioritize key exploitable results. It's, you will be guided, but it's internal cuisine of the projects, because you can have results which are, closer to the market or the community that you would like to work on in short term, or you could have a different approach or to work from scratch with different type of results to know exactly what should happen next in the different cases. So it depends much on the type of projects and in the state of art, I would say, yeah? But you will be guided on that. Can the experts help us value the impact of our intangible assets? I see that here it's value and it's not a value. So I know, I mean, in English terms, that this makes a huge difference. So if this goes back in terms of intellectual property with the add-on service, the answer is yes. It's not on general principle, intangible asset, but if this can be connected to intellectual property and then negotiating the intellectual property rights agreements connected to that intangible assets, this could be agreed. I mean, we are not making market analysis on your behalf. As I mentioned, if you need something, we can do it together, but we are not substituting you in doing your job. What's the difference between applying as a single project or organization? If a single organization applies, is support for multiple projects or a single project? We can have all the different cases that you mentioned in your question. Individual organization, group of organizations. Why? Perhaps the project is ended. An individual organization has the interest to bring forward its own results. Doable. Group of organization. There is a co-shared ownership, co-ownership of results. So the two organizations, two or more, would like to go on together, or at least perhaps there is a leading one and the other one would just like to be brought on board on that. Another possible case. One project means ideally that, the some of the partners will be involved. Ideally, of course, the whole consortium, otherwise they would have gone for a group of organizations on board, but this doesn't necessarily mean. And then a group of projects, in that case, of course, should be projects with commonalities or coming from different funding, as I was already mentioning. So actually, usually it's one organization referring to one project, group of organization referring to one project, a project and group of projects. So if you would like to refer to more projects, it's better that you access the booster with a project group.
Yeah, but in terms of possibilities, the world is your oyster.
Exactly.
You can mix and match in the different setups.
Yes.
All right.
Okay. Is the booster increasing? Probably.
Well.
For public follow-up, I like this type of questions. I mean, to control probabilities is not, one of our goals. Public follow-up funding, this is as well tricky because are you thinking to EU funding? Are you thinking to other types of funding? It's increasing. I mean, again, I would like to reverse the approach answering. Having a clear pathway to impact, having clearly identified your early adopters and users, have you identified target audiences, having a path, plan, strategies, identified key exploitable results, identifying, partners who are leading per each result on what needs to be done, having disseminated. Do you think that this is going to increase your probability of accessing further funding? I would say yes. So then to give you to provide the final answer, it's up to you. But I think yes, but not in a direct way. Really, this is something which should be built in adding the value and creating value and then leveraging on the value which has been created.
We can even, put it into the context, is dissemination and exploitation increasing the probability? I mean, what dissemination and exploitation, and same as the booster, are increasing is the structural approach you have for this pathway to impact, the visibility you can give to yourself, the credibility you can give to yourself as well as either project or result or initiative or in whichever way, or organization. So, when done effectively and efficiently, it really can bring so many benefits, one of which could be this, but I mean, we're not here to talk probabilities.
No, not my domain for sure. What the booster services are centered around the result of beneficiary LCG. If you beneficiary apply together, will the service be joint event? It could be joint event, but even if you have more beneficiaries applying together, so let's say a group of organizations, or even a project which brings on board more partners, there could be dedicated session per key exploitable result. So what does it mean? It means that ideally there will be moments in which things happen in plenary, and then there will be just one final report, but to work on a specific result, this could happen just with the involved partners or the involved group of researchers. So could be individual or could be joint. Depends again on the setup that you agree with your mentor in the entry-level consultation and the follow-up support. Topic often requests synergies between a project and other already supported and ongoing projects. Which instrument does the HR Booster provide for this? Topic often requests synergies. Okay, so there are cases, coming from the past as experience, in which actually we had clusters applying because the topic already foresaw to have synergies. Mm-hmm. In other cases, there is the add-on service, which can help you to group together with the other initiatives which are relevant and with which you can have commonality. So there could be cases in which, because the topic requests, you already have somehow a pre-identified cluster of projects that you should refer to. And usually this is as well recommended by the POs, if this is the case, from scratch, and it depends on the call, I think. And in other cases, if you have an interest, any case, if it is coming from the topic, the call, or it's your own interest in grouping with others, we can support in that direction through one of the add-on services. Topic often requests, that was just, sorry. What is the strategy for presenting results to stakeholders, investor companies when your project ends on 5-6 ERL and you see a clear industrialization? So you would like me now to, start with the, the public speaking service. Huh? This is the idea. So what's the strategy of results in investor companies? First of all, the stakeholders, it's very generic. You need to know which are the stakeholders: partners, manufacturers, distributors. What are we talking about? It says clear industrialization, so it means that it could be a piece of machinery or a product. It's very different. First of all, do not think that you have one PowerPoint deck and that will be useful for
Magic
all
answer.
the different, exactly, type of stakeholders. Moreover, because the stakeholders which are mentioned, even just investors and companies, you need to reach them in completely different ways. And even when thinking to investors, there are so many different categories of investors that you can have there outside, and each one needs to be addressed through a different channel and with different means and providing different type of information. Companies, even another story. So again, it's not even really a matter of the TRL that you are at. It's more a matter of the type of stakeholder you would like to reach and how to best reach them. It's clear that to show and clearly, highlight and present, which is the added value that your solution could ideally provide to have them on board, depends much on the specific case. And moreover, if you would like to reach them at international level, a national level, local level, in a different country, outside the EU, within the EU, all those elements should be considered. And to have a proper call to action for them to react on your specific case, first of all, you need to provide them what they would like to see there, which changes completely from the different type of audiences.
And this is the great thing about the booster. It's a tailor-made. It's not just, okay, this is the theory and I apply it as you will know. We look into as well where you are, what is your context, what is your domain, what are the aims, what is the pathway, etc. So it's quite an extra support. So, and I see we have come to the end of the Q&A. Well, we took quite a few questions. Thanks for that, Alessia. So I think we can wrap up on the Q&A part. Perhaps if you have anything else you want to just leave the participants of today as a little reminder or magic that they can take away with them.
We are here to support science, not magic things happening, but with our support, perhaps some magic could be there. No, important thing to know is that have a look to the booster website. Services are presented there as well, and more materials will be provided. There are as well frequently asked questions. It's important to know that once you register and you start your application, you do not have to fill it in and then submit. You can save it, go back to the partners, think about, think really to what you might need, which is your specific case, and then, complete it and submit. So again, this has been, it should be something that you really feel could give you an added value and could boost your impact, achievements.
Thank you very much, Alessia. And thanks also to everyone who tuned in today. We really appreciate you taking the time to join here, virtually albeit, but to join and to discuss a little bit. The Q&A made it a bit more interactive. It felt like we're really talking with people, which was nice. In case of any questions, like Alessia said, feel free to reach out. We have an email, we have a web page. It doesn't end today. This is just the very beginning. As you know, this is the launch of something. This is a launch event for something that can be really helpful and can, facilitate a lot your way to impact. And we hope that this will be useful to you. And thanks again. Thanks a lot. Take care.